Hello ladies and gents, I am Different and welcome back to From the Depths Adventure Mode. In this episode I have started in the vehicle designer because I want to work on the side pontoons of my adventure raft. And I've tried doing it in the actual adventure mode itself and it's just really difficult to see what's going on because you're bobbing up and down in the water. So I've just pulled it into the vehicle designer so that I have time and ease to work on it, because I can easily see right under the adventure craft like this, whereas when it's actually on the water it's really difficult to see what is actually going on. One thing you notice, I've actually pulled it into space. This is so that I don't have to put it into build mode and hold it up with the caps lock. Just being actually in space, it's sitting there fine. Of course, if I knock it or add momentum to it, it keeps on going, so that is one thing I do need to be aware of. So the plan is to double the depth of these side pontoons, or in fact over double it. So I'm going to just knock it down a couple of blocks, prefab this whole undercarriage section, and I just basically knock it on and see what it looks like. So be right back once I've added that on. I've just prefabbed the whole lower section of the ship and moved it down by 5 blocks. So it's definitely going to be quite a bit deeper, I think. I do need to sort it all out though. I'm going to add in the actual side pieces now and see what it actually looks like when it's a solid piece of metal, whereas at the moment it's a little bit open, so it's a bit difficult to tell what it's going to end up looking like. Well, it definitely needs some more work on it, but I'm quite liking the way it's looking. It was just a fairly narrow hull, and it is definitely increasing. And of course, most of this is going to be under the water. I'm expecting the water line to basically, this is what I've got this line of wooden blocks for. That is going to be the water line. Probably keep the wooden blocks there, to be perfectly honest. That's where I want the water to be. So all along here is going to be turning props, and I think this is what I'm going to turn this pretty much section from about here forwards. It's going to be a mass of stacked props, and that will definitely help with the speed of this ship. And I'm just going to probably stack these up as well so I have even more thrusters. That will definitely help with how quickly this thing is turning. I do need to though figure out what I'm going to do with the turrets, because at the moment when these explode they're going to destroy everything below. I do have a lot of space for the engines though, and that is the main thing I wanted to increase the depth of this ship for. I'm currently just working on reshaping the front of the hull, so because I'm going more displacement I actually want it to be, well, actually have more of a boat shape. So what I've done this is I have gone and done a smooth curve, so I've gone 4 meter, 3 meter, 2 meter, 2 meter, then 1 meter, 1 meter, and gone from left and right of each side of the pontoon, and then same from the very base of the craft as well, done the same thing. So then I just need to fill in these gaps utilising these angled corners. Just do that, then invert it there like that, fill in all the gaps, and then I can actually put in the corners. And there we go, that's another layer, and I'll need to do the layer behind it. So up like this. And yep, that's okay. Just checking the shape, I had actually got the right size. Just like that, and it's all coming along nicely. Excellent, so that is the shape of the hull there. Unfortunately, that's also the shape I would like, but this does not meld well with the rest of the base of the hull. So I'm going to have to slowly bring that out again, I think, to more industrial bulbous shape, or do I just keep it as this shape here? I might actually just keep it as this shape. So I've been contemplating the design, and I think I'm actually going to scrap the whole lower section of the ship here, and then make it more this normal hull shape on both sides. Though I was looking at this and I don't, if I just go straight back with it in this position, I'm just not going to have enough space for the internal components, because once I've armoured this up, it's going to be come up another layer here. I really need to push it down another layer or two, probably 2 layers I think I'll go, and that will actually give me more internal space, because I'm going to lose all this section here when I add in this hull shape, because this is going to go straight back as an angle, so I'll lose on both sides a fair amount of the hull I have just added in. But overall I do believe this is going to end up looking a superior ship. Now I've just stripped out the base of the whole thing, it seems a bit of a waste of all that prefabbing I did to start with, but it's all there as part of the design process, seeing what works and what doesn't, I guess. So I'm just filling in the base of the ship here. I'm definitely preferring this shape of the hull. It's a fairly basic hull, admittedly, and I am going to be working on it quite heavily. A lot of this internal flatness is going to be torn off. Huge sections here are going to be turned into additional props. And the rear I've left basically empty at the moment because, again, there's going to be a lot of props there. But also, I need to bring the hull around this engine area. Though, this engine area isn't as needed because I have all this... I have a lot more internal space and it's a lot deeper now. Admittedly, this isn't armoured up. I need to at least double skin this up. But it does mean I have a very, very, very long stretch for the engines. Yeah, I could almost fit 15 engines end to end in this section. Definitely going to be able to fit 10 in. And I need 20 more engines for the laser system I want to be using, because it's going to be... I still haven't decided if it's going to be 2Q or 4Q, but it is going to be 10... It's going to require around about 60,000 power, which is a lot of power. Nice little trick is when you're on large builds, swap over to mouse build, go where you want to go to, and then swap back, and you'll instantly be warped over there. It's a very nice little feature, and I've been using it a lot on this build. So it has dawned on me just how different the craft has changed since the beginning of the episode from this design. I'm actually going to be uploading this design separately because a couple of people have expressed interest in looking at this design in more detail. It is unfortunately a little bit unfinished, but it's completely functional as you've seen it in combat. So yes, I'll definitely be uploading this one as a separate to the one I am currently working on at the moment. Yes, it is very different shape now, and I like both. I definitely do like the hydrofoil version. It's just this is going to be a more displacement version, so I'm just going to continue building it. Here we go, I've completed the basic displacement hull shape now, and I'm just going to now test it in the water, so hopefully it won't sink. Here we go, and it's sinking. Great. Are the air pumps actually working, or is there a breach? There's apparently a breach somewhere. Right, that's going to be a pain. Ooh, is that it? That looks a bit of a hole. Okay, let's fix this. There we go, fixed it. I actually had a couple of other air pumps hidden round behind blocks, which when I'd stripped everything out, it linked them all together, and only one air pump will display the correct thing at one time. Of course, they'll act as redundant systems, but that is why it was not showing any buoyancy. On the buoyancy side, though, the ship is actually above water-ish. Let us try again, now that I have actually included a PID system and upwards facing thrusters, and also included the thrusters on the side for turning and load out the rear for basic thrust. And we're now actually properly afloat. Fantastic. That's exactly what I want. A little bit low at the fore actually. That's probably because I've got tons of props at the back, and the ones at the fore are... There's a lot, but they've rolled back a little way. So it's good though. Why just the height a little bit more though? So let's see how fast this thing actually moves. Whoops. Topping out around about 28 meters per second. The other one was just shy of around about 30, so no, around about 40, whereas this is just shy of about 30 meters per second. So I've lost around about 10 meters per second, which is quite a lot really. But on the plus side, I do have this massive amount of space under the hull. I do seem to be driving a little bit under the water. Yeah, being pushed downwards a fair amount actually. We need to increase the thrust at the fore, or figure out another system, I think. So yes, the whole ship is angled just a little bit downwards at the front. There you go, just increased the thrust of the fore props there. Actually added another one in and a few more hydrofoils. Let's actually push the speed up a little bit more. It was getting around about 30 now and then. Yep, just because I'm a little bit further out the water, so that's really good. Can also add on more props at the rear, and probably going to add some sort of prop system in the middle here as well. Before I head off into the adventure mode though, there's a couple more adjustments I have made to my primary weapon again. This is a slight adjustment in the position of the actual spin block. So if I just reduce it, all I've done now is that I have raised it 4 meters on top of a large heavy metal pole. So this pole is attached to the ship, and then this is further up here. This is so that when the ejectors fire and explode, they don't instantly destroy the turret block itself, which has very little health. They have to go through this quite heavy armour, which take a lot of beating to actually destroy, or go through the rest of the actual turret before it knocks out the turret. This should just prevent it from basically turret pop, so a little bit of damage should prevent it from damaging. Also, any explosions which are detonated from base shouldn't easily transmit up through the ship here. This is also going to be the same for the 15-meter turret, as it's basically the same internals. And it just helps fill up the space inside this turret even further. So that's doing rather nicely. Next thing I want to show is Guibi's engine platform. So this one I have actually been helping out with a couple of the engines. I decided to have a look at the Blue Line engine. That is the one, this one. This the Pivo 12 Blue Line engine I've been using, around about 1050 power per fuel. So just place it down. So you can see here, it uses 3200 and its power per fuel a little bit low at the moment because I've gone and broken it. So let's just build a non-broken version. So this is the Blue Line engine I was using before, the Pivo 12 modification, and it has a very nice power per fuel of 1055 when at full power of the 200 in a 5x5x7 space. Unfortunately, this isn't the best you can really do. You can get up to a 1288 utilising a same sort of format. So this was modified here by Guibi, and it has the same power output at the superior power per fuel. I had a look at this design and identified there was a lot of empty space, so then modified it by adding in a couple of more carburetors and cylinders. So I was able to push it up to a 3600 power in the same space, that's 5x5x7, and still managed to get up to the 1288. Well, I got it to 1282, Guibi modified the piping a little bit more, and was able to get it to the 1288 power per fuel. So definitely made a considerably better engine than before. And this is, as you can see here, the power per fuel, the power per pounding box, that is how much space it's utilising, is superior. However, there's an even better design. When this is actually lengthened up to a 12 line, this gets it to the most very, very efficient 22.67 power per pounding box at the 1288 power per fuel, which is considerably higher than any of the other designs in this area. So all this yellow zone here is good efficiency engines, around about, well, all over the 1000 power per fuel mark. So you've got twin engine of 1800 there, and another one of 1500. As you can see, the power per bounding box is considerably less. If you go down to the green lines, these ones are the ridiculous engines. These do not use any fuel at all. They have 78,000 power per fuel, and because that's so high, the game just doesn't register it at all and rounds it to 0. Unfortunately, these are atrocious in power density. Have a look here. This thing uses 1200 power, but it uses 0 fuel, but it is a big engine. The thing is, something like this would be very nice for a fortress. So if you did need a small amount of power, but then just infinite amounts, this is the engine to go for. And on the top line, these are the actual high power engines. These ones are not very efficient, generally on about the, well, 3 to 400, which is pretty much what the idea behind this, the Hercules you begin at the start. Though these are actually still even better than that, because of the inline power of turbos, not just going from the cylinders. From here, we have additional engines as well. These ones are maximum power density. So up here, a couple more of my ones. These use stupid amounts of fuel. Let's have a look at here. It's like 3x3x2. It gets just shy of 800 power, but it's only 75 power per fuel. The reason I designed these engines though is that if you're making very small drones, you sometimes need very, very high power density, and that is what these are perfect for. And again, just a little 2x2x2, it's very basic. It's here just as a demonstrator as the small engines you can actually create and the amount of power you can get. So just 360 or so. For an injector you need 2 pipes, well, you need a pipe per injector attachment. So this one's got 2 injectors, so each one has 2 pipes. You can see here the 3x3x3 has just shy of 1800 power in a tiny little space, and this is good for if you want to have a very small drone with high shields or any small craft. And also they're very cheap engines anyway. But let's get back to the adventure mode. So we're actually now back in the adventure mode, and I'm going to refit the ship. So this always has a little bit of danger, mainly because it's probably going to sink, but we will see what happens. So this is the adventure raft, the ADNS adventure raft. I'm going to change it to the Dauntless, and it is more expensive, so let us retrofit. And immediately I begin to sink. So yes, my ship is now currently sinking because I have stopped moving and the buoyancy is gone. So I'm quickly going to spawn in this, what I refer to as the repair ball. So the repair ball itself doesn't really do anything. It's a box with lots and lots of repair tentacles, and this is actually going to quickly build up my ship. In fact, due to how efficient they are at building, I'm going to build several of them. At the moment, my ship is not looking particularly good as it sinks to the very depths of the ocean. I've weighted down one of my repair balls, so hopefully it's going to come down and actually repair me. But yeah, it's going to be a bit annoying. Because I am very, very deep under the water. And just waiting to come back up. And yeah, my refineries have exploded because, yeah, there is a little bit too much gas being produced because they're at a weird angle. Here's my repair tentacle has come into range and it's building up very, very quickly. Excellent. My adventure craft, the Dauntless, has now been repaired and it is now rising to the surface, albeit slowly. Fortunately, my ship is wanting to rise to the surface upside down, which is not good. Oh, there goes the refineries again. Kaboom. Didn't think when they were turned off they actually generated dangerous gas, but apparently they do. Well, I forgot to replace my hearthstone. It blew up because I'd expanded my ship. I'm not actually going to end it like this because this is just stupid. I couldn't find where my hearthstone was to actually extend it. But okay, let's just try again. Go to main menu and reload. There we go. This time I've retrofitted and remembered to put in the hearthstone. Not the hearthstone, the Hearthstone extensions. Yeah, that is one big danger of building in the sandbox mode. I forgot that that's a thing and need to actually put those in, otherwise I die instantaneously. And yeah, I don't mind save scumming for a death like that because it is so stupid, like forgetting to actually put them in. I saw the warning, but by the time I saw the warning it was too late and I was already dead. There we go. But as you can see, the ship has now been retrofitted. Oops, if I actually get into a view you can actually see it, you'll be able to see that it's retrofitted. So it's got the large rear end there, and it has the actual flotation devices at the side, which is brilliant. I do need to have a look at some more of this, actually extend out these sides, change some of the weapon systems, and also replace the weapon systems I have removed, because I've taken off the sabogans at the front and also the torpedo bays at the underside of the craft here. What I'm thinking of doing though is adding on a couple of big torpedo turrets, so rather than them just being ejected down, I should have a turret system here, much like I put on the Q ship. And this will then be able to actually turn around and fire the torpedoes where they need to go, and so I don't lose the ejection properties of the torpedo propellers, because at the moment what I was doing, because I was ejecting downwards, I was losing the benefit of the props. Oh, and an enemy has spawned in. Let's go see what they are. I think I've destroyed some of you before. No, a Terravolt have not destroyed you before. So you die rather easily. A couple of big hits of the primary railgun there. Excellent. Torn a hole straight through the side and disabled basically everything. Fantastic. My ship does now turn a bit better as well. Because it has the increased sideways drag, it actually turns slightly better. It still drifts quite considerably, but rather than strafing so much, it's actually got a large turning circle, which I just prefer the movement of, even if it might not necessarily turn to face the target as quickly as it used to. Oh, another Lightning Hood Sapphire. This one's got some decent lasers, but again my ship does have laser shielding, so it should be able to absorb that quite nicely. But my engines are being overtaxed. As you can see, I'm currently also using a couple of thousand power of my backup electric engines. It's something I do need to work on, but that is why I spent all that time helping design those engines, because I wanted some more powerful and more efficient engines. Admittedly, I don't really need the efficiency, but more powerful per unit volume is definitely something I'm interested in. So the target is AI dead. Any damage? A couple of beams darkened, but nothing significant. And once again, I'm back in the vehicle designer for this episode. Yeah, this episode's been all over the place. It's because I've been recording it over Christmas. Anyway. One thing I'm going to be adding to my ship is I'm going to be replacing a couple of the rear turrets, that's probably going to be the Supercav frag ones, with these things. These are railguns, and quite powerful railguns at that. They utilise an 8-meter shell, but the shell is not as powerful as the one in my current railgun, but it is considerably faster. So if I go to this here, you can see that the draw is around about 10,000, well, about 12,000, but 10% is that used for accuracy. So it's just around about 10,000 power. So if we go to this thing, put in the 10,000 power here, you can see the velocity of this shell, it's a 500mm, is 613 meters per second, so this is very, very, very quick and will allow it to track fast moving targets a lot easier. Because it is one thing I've noticed in testing with the other railgun, is that the shells are a little bit slow, so any fast targets it just can't keep up with. Problem generally though with fast shells is that they are highly reflected by shields. So this utilises the HE shape charge frag warheads with an inertial fuse. So once this hits the shield, it will detonate very powerfully with a HE warhead, damaging the surface of the ship, just because this has maximum explosive radius, so it will damage the external blocks and hopefully knock out the shield generator itself. And if it's only got a single layer of shielding, the inertial fuse will detonate off the first layer of shielding and the frag warheads will be blasted through inside. If it does then hit the ship itself, it does a considerable amount of damage with both of these warheads, and then has a small shaped charge warhead. This has decent penetration metric and only a few actual particulates. This is because this is going to be going for the actual fast ships, and if it can take out the aircraft's ammunition supply, that generally makes a big hole and destabilizes the ship. One reason you might be thinking, why is it this weird shape? This is so that I can have ejectors set up correctly. So all the ejectors are at the base, and they're going to be actually ejecting out of the ship, and the wooden block there designates where the turret mount will be. This then is all going to be armoured up to prevent any external explosive damage bleed. So if it hits around the cap, and if explosive damage hits the cap, it can bleed down and actually damage the top components. This though will help protect the vital components inside, and this is what it ends up looking like. The problem is though, it is extremely slow to turn, so I might, because it's got the ejectors, it doesn't really need this armour as much, because the whole gun won't just explode instantaneously when it's hit. But on the base, you can see all the ejector holes there, and this is actually going to stick out the bottom of my ship. Then here is the turret mount. Unfortunately, it does mean it doesn't have a full degree of movement, but almost none of my guns on my ship have full degrees of movement anyway, to prevent them from shooting the hull itself. And yes, it's again a little bit of collar, and in here is a lot of charges. And when this fires, which actually aim it over and fire, I can actually follow the shell. See, it moves a very, very small shell rather quickly. And this thing is going to be very useful for taking out the long range enemies, because a lot of my combat is fought at around about 4 kilometers, which a shell travelling at 400 meters per second, it just doesn't have good accuracy. Whereas this has very nice accuracy, even against rather fast ships. The problem with this gun is that it does have a tendency to get itself locked in, so here's something you do have to be aware of. But the shells are very fast, so you can almost keep up with the squirrel itself, even at very short ranges. The turret traverso is something I may consider changing, and that will probably involve in just stripping out all this internal armour. But I will see how it goes when I actually put it on my ship itself. The other reason I wanted to go for this design is to have shorter barrels, because the barrels on the main railgun are just stupidly long, and I think they just look very, very silly. This actually looks more reasonable length. Yes, it's a huge gun, but it looks a reasonable length barrel rather than the silly noodle barrels of the other gun. That is all I have time for now though, so thank you very much for watching this episode of From the Depths Adventure Mode with myself and Adventrue. I do apologise for the bits of out of sync video. I accidentally recorded a couple of loading screens which messed everything up, but hopefully it was still legible and makes a lot of sense. So if you did enjoy the episode, please leave a like and or comment, as it is always great to hear from you lot. Otherwise, that's it from me for now, and I shall see you next time. But until then, I'm out. Goodbye!